When most people think of diplomacy, they picture negotiators in suits moving between governments to strike deals. Spiritual diplomats operate differently. A spiritual diplomat is a faith leader who steps into spaces where politics, treaties, and traditional negotiations have failed. They don't carry weapons or political power. Instead, they bring wisdom, moral authority, and a commitment to peace rooted in faith. At its core, the Spiritual Diplomats movement is about advancing peace, protecting religious freedom, and defending human dignity across nations and faith traditions. These leaders represent the conscience of humanity. They include pastors, priests, imams, rabbis, and other faith voices who work together beyond political lines to foster dialogue and reconciliation. Their work is driven by shared values like safety for children, dignity and freedom for all people, justice, and the right to worship without fear. The model of spiritual diplomacy draws inspiration from historical figures whose faith guided them into spaces of conflict and division. People like Reverend Billy Graham, who stood before world leaders with courage and conviction, Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayyah, who worked alongside Christian, Jewish, and political leaders to foster understanding and protect religious minorities, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who fought apartheid with faith and moral clarity, Gandhi, whose nonviolent resistance reshaped a nation, Dr. Martin Luther King, who stated that he dreams of a day where you're not judged by your color, but by the content of your character, and other interfaith leaders, who showed that moral courage can change the course of history. But spiritual diplomats don't only focus on big symbolic acts. They engage in quiet diplomacy by meeting with leaders in sensitive contexts, create safe spaces for interfaith dialogue, stand with refugees and persecuted communities, and advocate for religious freedom in global forums. They also work in conflict mediation, helping calm tensions, rebuild trust, and open the door to reconciliation where political solutions have stalled. A spiritual diplomat is not defined by nationality, title, or political office. A spiritual diplomat is defined by moral authority, by the courage to stand in places of tension and say that peace, dignity, and freedom of belief still matter. This movement also brings people together across faith lines. Events like the International Interfaith Conference, titled United in Liberty, The Rise of the Spiritual Diplomats, convene religious leaders from around the world to talk about practical paths to peace, grounded in shared values and mutual respect. This movement is intentionally interfaith. It does not ask leaders to compromise their beliefs. It asks them to stand shoulder to shoulder around shared values: the protection of life, the safety of children, the freedom to worship without fear, justice rooted in compassion, peace built on truth. Ultimately, being a spiritual diplomat means working at the intersection of faith and public life to remind the world that real leadership serves humanity. It is a form of moral engagement that seeks to heal divisions, uphold freedom of belief, and show that peace is possible when faith leaders walk together, not as political actors, but as peacemakers and advocates for human dignity. This is the calling of a spiritual diplomat: to walk into difficult spaces with wisdom, to listen before speaking, and to lead, not with authority alone, but with good moral conscience. Are you a spiritual diplomat?